Last night I dreamed my grandma was driving, and she was driving the DeLorean from Back to the Future, and I was riding with her. I was in the passenger seat, and she was telling me a story. She was telling me about something that had happened to her the day before. She said that she'd gone into a liquor store and that she and the clerk behind the counter got into it over some trivial thing, and the clerk had insulted her, and when he gave her her change, he threw it at her, and she told me that she'd taken a swing at him and spit on him, and that he had called the police on her, and that the police had hauled her off. And I said to Grandma, I said, wow, I can't believe you got into all this trouble. I mean, by the way, where are we going right now? And my grandma looks over at me. She said, we're going right back to that liquor store. I'm gonna see that fella again. I said, wait a minute, that's not a good idea. I mean, you're gonna get into trouble. Look, we'll go someplace else. Okay? No, I'm dead set on going into this place. And at that moment, she pulled into the parking lot and she marched out into the liquor store. And sure enough, it was the same clerk behind the counter that she'd gotten into it with the day before. I walked in behind her. I'm trying to play it cool. Sorry to all of my subscribers who live in Oakland, but just got back from a restaurant and was watching the game. So, but anyways, we walked into the liquor store, and this clerk behind the counter is eyeing us the whole time. And my grandma, she's pretending like she doesn't notice or that she's not up to anything. And finally, she picked out a Crunch bar with caramel. Or caramel, however you say it, but I don't even know if they still make those any longer. Gosh, those things were good. But yeah, she finally picked out a little caramel Crunch bar and put it down on the counter. And of course, the clerk said something snide to her, and she grabbed the clerk by the collar of his polo shirt. And I mean, it was funny. The clerk actually was Ryan Gosling. I mean, it took me a moment to figure this out. I kept looking at this clerk thinking, God, this guy looks familiar. And then when she grabbed him by the collar of his polo shirt and pulled him over the counter, it's funny. I mean, for a woman who's undergoing chemotherapy and is in her 70s, she was just manhandling him, just grabbed him and pulled him right across the counter, nose to nose, and she's cussing him out. And then Ryan Gosling has this smile on his face, and just as I'm about to separate them, he says, I called the cops as soon as you walked in. They'll be here any second. And of course, he wasn't lying. We started hearing sirens in the distance. So she throws him on the floor behind the counter. She knocks over a couple of bottles of Johnny Walker Black Label that he had stacked on his countertop, and we run out into the parking lot, get back in the DeLorean, close the gull-wing doors, and she peels out. And the last thing I remember is looking at the speedometer, and she'd gotten it up to 140 on the highway, which, I mean, could DeLoreans even go up to 140? I don't know, but the flux capacitor clearly wasn't working, because, yeah, we would have gone somewhere else, getting it up beyond 88 miles per hour. But, yeah, she got it up to 140, and we got away from the cops. I wasn't hearing any sirens at that point, and I didn't see any squad cars, and yeah, it's an exciting afternoon at Ryan Gosling's expense, or his dream counterpart anyway.